I'm going to tell you one growth secret that nobody talks about, and it's one of the biggest regret of my life. At a very early age, I moved out of my parents' house, which was I think 18, and I moved to school to learn to speak English better because I know that if I lived in a same environment of the house where everyone is speaking in English, in Urdu actually, which is my mother tongue, I will not never be able to speak English better and relate myself to the other kids in the school or high school, and be able to speak to them normally. So I moved out for the university, and then I moved out since then, and I felt like I would be able to be further down if I have done all these things. Now, one thing I noticed after a very long time, so I moved from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan to London, England for a couple years, and that's where I stayed for. I did most of my traveling, and some of my YouTube videos are about traveling, and this is the time I was actually traveling. Now, what I was thinking is that because I'm alone, I'm talking to more people, I'm trying new things that I probably wouldn't if I were to live with my family, whether that's traveling, meeting new people, trusting your gut instincts, all of that. And I was thinking that I'm going a lot further, which in a way I was going further than what where I wanted to, or further than what I would have been with if I was in my family. But after a few years, I realized that one, I was missing out on family values. Like I wasn't staying with my family a lot. I don't know what's going on. I just only know from the pictures and videos. The second thing I really, really miss is how my siblings' kids are growing up, and they're growing up very fast, and I'm not able to be close to them, kiss them, and kind of see their childhood and play a part what I need to play as uncle in their life. So these are the two things that I was very kind of sad. But the biggest lesson as a man I got was the fact that I was trying to grow in a life, in a career on my own, and I was thinking I was doing good and I was doing decently well. At that time, after a few years, I realized that I'm still where I'm started. Like I have a lot of experience in all that, but in a career, and I'm still where I started, and that's something I didn't like. So then I chose to do something that's very hard for everyone, is to accept the failure that I actually failed in growing where I wanted to grow or to go where I wanted to go, and I came back home. And that's where I actually moved to Lloydminster from from London, England, to I moved to London, Ontario. From London, Ontario, I stayed there for a couple of years as well. I tried to work on my own, kind of figure out my own self and life. And then from London, Ontario, I moved to Lloydminster, Alberta, and that's where my family is, and that's where I started working and kind of hustling. When I moved to Lloydminster, I realized that there's opportunities here that could take me a lot further. All I have to do is kind of count on some of the connections my family has made previously because of my dad, my mom, and my friends and family, and the connections I could build in a community that we're living in. So that's what I started doing. I started working on few of the connections I had. I talked to them and discussed some of the things that I want to talk about. Then I connected to some of those connections that my parents have. Then I started talking to those and frequently visiting those people who has businesses and who's doing well or who's at a places that I wanted to be in, and slowly I started building connection. Now I was always thinking like if I was on my own I would have been able to be a lot further, which I tried to make connections and all that. But coming back to home, realizing my mistake one, and then figuring out the connection that's already there close by, it actually took me a lot further in those times in these last 6 months than I would have been on my own the whole year. So now I'm focusing on those connections, and one of those connections I'm actually working with them to figure out if there's a way that I can potentially work with them, right, or a part owner of the business that they are in. So hopefully this will work out in future. But if any of you guys are thinking to go alone on your own, I think it's good to try it out. But I feel like you're gonna realize if you grow together, you will go a lot more further than if you were to grow on your own. And that's the biggest lesson I got in my life. and I always kind of regret the idea that I moved out. I didn't regret, so like I would regret 50% of the idea that I moved out. The idea of English and getting experiences and doing more than what I am is good, right? Because we were recently moved from Pakistan, and I feel like our thoughts were very constrained to that country still. So I did good on that part. What I didn't do is that I thought I'm gonna work from a scratch, and I think I'm gonna go further because I'm gonna build my own connection, and that's where I failed. I thought what I should have done is should have gotten into some of the connections I already have, kind of explore them there, and kind of dig deeper to see if there is any potential. If there is not any potential, then I should have gone to a second situation, which is doing on our own. But the fact that I did it that on my own, the first thing I realized that I'm a lot more further behind that I wanted to be in. So I'm in the phase where I'm waking up my older connections. Inshallah, things gonna work well. And if it doesn't, I'll let you know. So that's all for today's video. I'll see you tomorrow with another thought. Till then, take care of your channel and of yourself. Peace.